Spooky Ghouls, Spooky Doll Lady Chris. It's been a while. I just wasn't really feeling up to streaming, and then all of a sudden I couldn't connect OBS to my Twitch account, so I'm gonna take a week off, turned into like 3 weeks. But anyway, we're back tonight, and I'm going to work on the tiniest doll I've ever made, which is this little cutie that I got last weekend at the Toledo Doll Bear Show. And this is the artist's card. It's called Mysfit Dolls. I'm going to hold this up so that you can scan the little QR code to go to their website if you want to. So, I've never worked on a doll this tiny, but as soon as I saw the itty bitty little mouse, I had to have the teeny itty bitty little mouse. I think she said she's like 3 1/8 inches tall, so she's very, very, very tiny. Most of the tiny dolls I've worked on had really big heads, so it still wasn't quite as much of a challenge to do the face up on as I think this is going to be, but I do love a creative challenge. So the first thing I want to do, there's a little tiny bit of a burr on her cheek here that I'm going to try and get off with my micro mesh and one of my rifler tools. I want to be really gentle sanding her. The artist already did a really good job. She's 3D printed, and I think she has already been sanded because she's very, very smooth. Like, there's not ridges like you usually see on 3D printing. But there are just like a couple of little edges. Like, there's a little, can I get the camera to focus? A little tiny, can you see the little nubs on the ear there that I'm gonna sand off? Some of this is unfortunately just scratches because it's soft resin, and it scratches easily, but that's okay because I am going to be making her a little dress, so most of the scratches from her own joints rubbing against each other will be nicely hidden. And I think really only it's this area in here that's getting scratched. The rest of it looks like it's holding up really well, so I'm not particularly worried about it. Oh my gosh, look at these teeny little hands. This is why I had to have the tiny doll. So I don't know what came over me thinking that I would be able to paint this easily. It's definitely going to be a challenge, but I think it's going to be a fun challenge. Okay, so I grabbed all of my pinks because I'm not sure what pink I'm going to end up doing, but I want to do a pink nose and then like a little pink upper lip, and then leave the bottom lip unpainted to kind of give a little bit of a different look than, you know, a human-faced doll. And then I'm going to blush her inner ears and do some blushing on her face. And I have to take her tiny little eyes out, and I've been so nervous to do this because they're so small. Look at how little these eyes are. But I'm going to take them out because I'm going to paint them. Well, not so much paint them. I have my Prismacolor pencils, and I'm just going to sharpen the Prismacolors as precisely as I can, and kind of do the eyes with the pencils, I think. And then I'll just dab a little dot of black paint on for the pupil. I'm a little anxious about trying to paint them. I kind of want to give her like a greenish hazel eyes. I think that that'll be really cute on a gray mouse. I have the margarita back finally, by the way. I haven't had an actual margarita on my stream in a while. But now I'm getting warm because I'm drinking. Okay, so let's see, what am I gonna do first? I think I want to take the eyes out and do the sanding first. So grab my little tweezers. And I'm just going to kind of try and nudge these out really carefully until I can grab them. And I can't just grab them with my nails, obviously, because I have super short nails. But if you have long fingernails, you could just reach in there and grab them out. There we go. Oh my gosh, the putty is just stuck to the other side of the putty, but that's okay. I'm just gonna roll it to the back so that I can stick the eyes down while I work on them. Let go. There we go. So I'm not gonna take it all the way off because you want the eyes to be kind of stuck down while you work on them. So I'm gonna sit it there for a second while I get the other one out. It's also kind of hard because they're so small and they're sort of tucked behind the little ring. But I think if I am nice and gentle with my tweezers, I should be able to get them out no problem. I'm just trying to nudge them. I don't want to actually try and grab them because I don't want to like scratch them or dent them at all. Here we go. Can I maybe grab the putty? There we go. That'll work. And then I should be able to... Oh, I'm getting everything but the eye to come out. This second eye is just being very difficult. Here we go. Just had to grab that putty. Okay. Now, I'm going to try and roll the putty off of the eyes. And do that. And I want to put them on a little piece of tape. I'm not sure if I'm going to get any of my regular viewers today because I am streaming at a much different hour than I usually do my art streams. I kind of just couldn't really get myself moving today. The weather's been really gross and I haven't been feeling well lately, and just the combination of things, I was just very sleepy today. But I took a nap, so now I'm good to go. Okay, now that the eyes are out, and I don't have to worry about damaging the eyes, there is a little bit of putty on the inside corner I want to grab. There we go. I could kind of see it before, but I didn't want to grab at it while the eyes were in there in case I scratched one of the eyeballs. Okay, so now that those are out, I'm going to grab my little rifler tool. And I'm going to kind of just really gently try and get those little nubs that were on the edge of the ear. I'm not even really using pressure here, I'm just kind of sliding it along. Did I get it? Nope. I got one, but there's still, can you kind of see there's still just a little bit of the other one left. Maybe if I kind of roll the ear around as I'm doing it. I think I got it because it feels like it's smoother now. Okay. Yeah. I don't see the little sharp edges anymore, really. I don't feel them. I don't see them. Okay. So, I'm going to skip like the first whole stack of micro mesh because she's already so smooth. Oh, that's right. I wanted to get this little You can see it's just like a little bit of a error in printing there, where it's just slightly uneven, and I'm just gonna go with the same amount of tension, just not really even putting pressure, just sort of sliding it back and forth. And I'm not going to worry about getting it perfect, because she is so tiny that I'm afraid if I go for perfect, I'm going to damage her. I just want to get it a little bit less pronounced, so that when I'm blushing, it doesn't get highlighted, if that makes sense. Just clear all the dust off of here. Okay. It feels much smoother now, so I think that when I do the blushing, it won't be a problem. I mean, it looks almost the same. I'm not even sure I can tell a difference by looking at it, but it feels smoother. There was a little patch that just felt just a little bit rough, and now it doesn't. So I think that we're good. So here she is again without her eyes in. I'm gonna do the nose and lip painting first. And I'm going to basically be trying to do all of this in one go, because I'm not going to be running off camera to go and spray MSC in between each step like I normally do. Partly just because she's so tiny that I'm a little worried I'm going to overspray her. Which I know isn't like the easiest thing to do, but I mean, I've never worked on a doll this small before, so it's a whole bunch of new challenges. Sorry, just moving my cursor, which was sitting in an awkward spot on my screen. Okay. Yeah, so it's just new challenges essentially. And I am going to be a little bit over anxious about certain things. So let's see. I'm just kind of eyeballing how I want to do this. I may actually take out a Prismacolor pencil and see if I can't do like a white outline of what I want to do. Actually, maybe I'll try doing the outline in the watercolor pencil instead. Watercolor pencil will be easier to erase. So, I do want to get my point a little bit sharper. I think my pencil is as sharp of a point as I'm going to get it. So let me try and just... Nope. Wasn't quite sharp enough, I guess. So let me try and go a little bit lighter. There we go. Alright, so I know it doesn't look like much, but that's what I'm gonna do with the pink. Okay. I'm just gonna go with the tiniest little lines at a time here. Alright, I'm gonna try this pink, and if I hate it, I can wipe it off. I'm not even gonna bother to squirt it out into a palette because I'm gonna use so little of it. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. That's exactly the shade that I wanted. It's pinky pinky, but it doesn't look like a lipstick pink, you know? It looks like a little critter nose. I feel like my little Filtrum line is a little off center. I think if I use just a corner of paper towel here. Grab Q-tips, but I think Q-tips are too small. Or I mean too big. I should start a counter on how many times I mentioned that this is a tiny doll. But I feel like it needs to be repeated. Oh. Hand twitched a little bit there. This is what I was afraid of with using paint. It's because she's so small. It's just really, really hard to clean up messes. She's so cute though. It's gonna be worth it. This is where having the tiniest brushes in the world really does come in handy. This is my new favorite right now. It's a 20 round Velvet Touch. Can you see how tiny the bristles are on this? I think this is the smallest brush I own. I did just buy another itty bitty one. Where did it go? It's in here somewhere. I did want to show it off because it's brand new and I'm kind of excited about it, but it needs, unfortunately, a little bit of conditioning. Oops. Hey Ashley, how's it going? So this one, I don't know. Can I get my camera to focus? So the ends of the bristles are like just slightly frayed. So I need to run it through my brush conditioner. But this one is from the Army Painter. This one is called Wargamer the Psycho. There we go. I'm trying to get the glare out of the way there. This is another itsy bitsy one, but even this one is, I mean, it's really hard to get the camera to focus on these itty bitty brushes, but even this one is slightly bigger than the Princeton Velvet Touch. So that's the one that I'm using right now, is the Velvet Touch. And just kind of trying to get just that upper lip so I get that really, what is the word I'm looking for? My brain keeps wanting to go with animatronic, and that's not the right word. What is the word that my brain is forgetting for when an animal has human characteristics? Yeah, I usually do these streams in the afternoon, so I feel like I'm not probably going to catch my usual, like, I have like 3 or 4 people that catch my streams pretty regularly, but they're, one is in Belgium, so the time difference is a factor. Julie works in the evening, so I'll probably miss her today. But I don't know, I couldn't get myself moving early enough today to do my stream at the normal times. Alright, there we go. Now it's wanting to focus. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So what I want to do, I'm going to give it like a minute to dry here. Right? I can't get, now that that word came into my head, I can't get the right word in there. I don't know what the word is. I know exactly what it is. It's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to get here with this Faceup. So I am going to give her like little pink nails like a person. But that's really the only other human-like characteristic that I'm going to give her. The rest is all going to be very mouse-like. So I'm going to give like really, really soft eyebrows. I'm only going to use the pencil. I'm not going to do any painted eyebrows. Most of the blushing is going to be really soft so that it'll be more animal-like and not quite so human-like. Let's see, is that dry enough? I wanna use my brush on sealant, because like I said, I'm a little afraid to use MSC in case I accidentally overspray this teeny tiny little doll. Did I even take, I don't even think I took my sealant out. Only going to be using, thank you, yeah, she was 3D printed from, where'd it go, come on card, from Mysfit Dolls. I picked her up at the Toledo Doll Bear Show. She had them in a couple of sizes. This was the tiniest one. And of course, having never done a tiny doll before, I picked the tiniest of tiny dolls. Because I am just that much of a masochist, I guess. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to gloss her nose and lip. Okay. I just wanted to do something a little different. Exactly. I'm actually going to make her dress out of candy wrappers. Which is part of the reason that I wanted a really tiny one. So, she's the 3-inch size. I think the other one was a 4-inch. So it was only slightly bigger, but I mean, in person, you can definitely tell that one was much smaller than the other. So, yeah, I went with the itty bitty one. Okay, so I think what I'm thinking is that I'm going to not give her lashes and just kind of do like a shadow around the eyes. So I'm going to give a minute for that to dry while I do her little fingernails and toenails. And then that way I won't have to worry about sticking a powdery brush into wet gloss sealant. Okay, so I think I actually may want to do let me see what the lighter pink looks like. It might be too light, but just the nature of 3D printing is that the ends of the fingers are a little bit lighter than the body, so I feel like maybe the lighter pink might work better for fingernails. Yeah. I don't know if my camera's even going to focus on her tiny fingernails. There we go. Yeah, I think the lighter pink is definitely going to be the way to go here. So, I'm going to do these. I'm so glad I got this itty bitty brush, man. I think even my other brushes, which I always considered to be pretty tiny, my next smallest brush after this one and the Psycho that I just got the other day, the next smallest brush in my set is like twice the size, and it just would not work for a doll this tiny. And when I got her, the artist mentioned that there were a couple of doll art channels that had done customs of the 4-inch size, which was kind of my other motivation for doing the 3-inch size, is that I would basically be the first doll artist doing the 3-inch size that she would be sharing, and I thought that that might be kind of exciting. Oh yeah, the little pinky nails, that looks really good. What was I saying? I got distracted by how cute the tiny fingers were. Oh, my obsession for miniatures will be the death of me someday. I'm just going to keep trying to do smaller and smaller pieces. Oh, that's right. I was saying that a couple other doll artists had done customs of the 4-inch size. And I'm assuming that they went with the 4-inch size just because even painting a doll this tiny, like, you really do need specialized tools. This is not something I could have done if I didn't have these particular itty bitty brushes in my arsenal. I would have just had to go with the 4-inch. Alright, I'm starting to get a little bit clogged up here. That is the one downside to doing really, really tiny scale. You really can only have like one drop of paint on your brush, and then it starts to clog, and you have to rinse and restart. But I think it's worth it to have awesome tiny things. Oh, I did a little too far up the toe on the pinky. We'll fix that. Oh yeah, oh my god. Oh, I love this. This was a good one to come back with. I was almost going to work on my pumpkin today, but this is mostly just going to be aging it and adding shadowing, and that's not super exciting to watch. I figured this would be a much more exciting stream to do when I'm back. And if there's extra time, which there probably will be, because again, super tiny doll, she's not going to take a lot of time, then I'll do the pumpkin at the end. But I just really wanted to do the little mouse today. Just checking that these are dry. They're also going to dry super fast because it's such small amounts of paint. So there's not really a lot of waiting for drying time, which is also awesome. I'm not going to put the sealant on yet because I am going to have to keep handling her in order to blush her face. So we're going to set everything aside now. And oh my gosh, I don't even know if any of my powder brushes are going to be small enough for this doll. This is my smallest powder brush. Let's see. That'll definitely work for her ears. Oh, that's almost the perfect size to blush an ear. Oh, it'll be just barely small enough to do. Okay, if I use just the tip, I gotta use just the tip and then it'll work. Yeah, okay, we can do this. I'm gonna make it work. Alright. Let's see. I think probably my darks are gonna be too dark. Because the lightest one in here is the same as the darkest of my earth reds, and I almost never use that one because it's so dark. So, put away the tiny brushes. And, oh no, I never wanted to micro mesh this after I sanded it. Just to take out any, any amount of accidental scratching that may have occurred when I was sanding. And micro mesh, for people not familiar, has its own entire grit system. So you just get smaller and smaller and smaller grits until you're basically buffing rather than sanding. So, especially on teeny tiny projects like this micro mesh definitely comes in handy. And I think that's as smooth as I'm going to be able to get it. Let's just get all the dust off so I can blush her. Alright. You don't always have to do that, but if you don't, then sometimes what ends up happening is if you accidentally sanded a scratch into the resin, when you put the blush in, it'll just darken the scratch and make it super obvious and ugly. So we're going to try not to do that. Alright, so she should be nice and smooth now. And let's move this. Grab the little tape with her eyeballs on it. I'm going to put this up on the edge of my laptop up there so I don't lose them. And alright, so the ones that I think I'm going to end up using, possibly this one. I'm not sure. This may even be too dark for her. So, yeah, I'm not even gonna use the mid reds. I may just stick with my rainbow palette over here. I do like this Earth Reds set a lot. I use it with the Blythe dolls more because they have much bigger faces and need a little bit more shading. But I'm afraid if I use such a dark shade on her, anywhere on her face, it's just gonna pull too many shadows in, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna stick, I think, with a little bit of this one and a little bit of this one. And that's gonna make a nice pinky blush. So I like to do the dark shade first. So I'm going to add a little bit of that there, smooth it in. We're going to add a little bit here. Oh. Oh, duh. I was worried about the powder that fell into the eye holes. I forgot I can take the ears off. Okay. Maybe I'll just leave those off so that if any more falls into the eye holes, I don't have to worry about getting it out of there. So I put a little bit in all the areas where you would have sort of rosiness on your own face. And then I'm going to soften them up significantly with the light pink. So it's going to look a little bit dark to start with. But whereas with something like markers or paints, it's easier to start light and build up darks. With pastels, I actually find it easier to start dark and then lighten it as you go. So I'm going to add the pinks. And a lot of blushing resin doll faces is adding and then removing and then adding and then removing color. So it is a multi-step process. But it's fun. See how it's already looking a little bit lighter and more pinky. And then now that I have the actual base color in there, now I'm going to go to the peach and we're going to lighten everything up over almost the whole face. And it's just going to kind of blend it and bring it all together. And then brush off the excess. And next layer. So you can kind of see it's just starting to pull out the actual shape of the face with the highlights being picked up and the contouring from the pinks. And I do want to contour a little bit more at the temples here, but I don't want it to be a hard contour, so I'm not going to go all the way to the dark pink. I'm just going to do the light pink and do a couple of little spots. And then come back in with the highlight color. Alright. And I am liking how that looks, so I'm going to do the ears. I'm going to start with just doing the light pink and see if it gives enough of a color or if I want to add a little bit of the dark. But I have a feeling, because again the ears, it's going to be kind of the same as the fingers, where just by the nature of 3D printing, because they're printed a little bit thinner, they're naturally going to be a little bit lighter, so I feel like they maybe don't need quite as intense of a color. Got a big clump of pastel powder sitting right at the edge of this ear. There we go. Okay. And then in with the highlight. Normally I put a mask on when I do my blushing because I don't know, the camera's probably not picking it up, but there's a lot of little, there's like a cloud of powder that just kind of lifts off as you're brushing. And I will inevitably end up blowing pink out of my nose at some point tonight. But it's okay. It's not like toxic or anything. It just, it gets, a little powder gets up in your nose and it turns your snot funny colors. Alright, so I am definitely thinking I'm happy with just the lighter pink in the ears. I think it's enough of a contrast. I'm having a really hard time getting the color to capture because I have my bright ring light on because it's dark, obviously. But, you know, you can kind of tell her face is now a bit more rosy. And again, I don't want to do anything super intense because I want her to be more animal than person. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to seal her little fingers, maybe. No, I'm going to blush. I do want to blush the upper part of her chest. I'm going to skip blushing most of the body just because, again, where's that counter for how many times I mention it? But she is so tiny that I'm afraid to overpower her with the pastels. But I do want to do just the upper part of the chest here, just the bit that's going to show when I have her dress on. So I'm going to add a little bit of the light pink here, just over the collarbones, because she does have little sculpted collarbones, which I think is so cute, even as tiny as she is. So I just want to give those a nice little highlight. There. Okay. So I'm going to seal her little fingers, and then I'm going to get my pencils and try and do just the lightest eyebrows I have ever done. And I don't know, maybe I'll try and add some whiskers. I think I may hold off on that though, just because I think that with a face this size, if I try to draw whiskers, it might be too much. There's not a whole lot of real estate on those cheeks to be drawing anything, which is kind of why I was avoiding doing eyelashes. I do want to give a little bit of a shadow around the actual eye though, because there is a sculpted eyelid. So I'm just going to kind of, I'm going to take my orangey brown and just do a really light swoop over that eyelid curve. Because I think if I put just a little bit of shadow up in there, and then I give her like hazel green eyes, that little bit of orangey brown shadow will make them pop a lot more. So I keep wanting to do more, but she's so small, I'm just afraid to overpower the sculpting. Maybe a little bit of a highlight down the side of the nose. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think that was too much. I think that nice and subtle. Camera's not really picking up the color, but there is blushing there, I promise. It'll probably be easier to get it on my camera afterwards. So I will be putting a finished picture up on Instagram later as well. has a little fuzzy stuck in there. I'm quite sure it's my rabbit's fur because it's absolutely everywhere. Blow out the excess pastels too. Just so that I don't stain her eyes when I put them back in. Okay. So, I'm going to set her here for now. Let's see. I'm going to go in with... I've been debating since I got her too. I think I may even... I was thinking about doing a wig for her, but I think I'm not going to. I think what I'm going to do instead is just a headband to cover the little join around the edge of the head cap here. I think that that'll be better. I can do like a little rosette on the headband out of a little piece of candy wrapper. Okay, I don't want cool gray, I think, because although I did use some pretty cool pinks on her too. I think the orangey brown was the only warm color I really used on her, so let's go with cool gray. And I want to mark on a place that's not going to be visible to see how this is going to, if this is going to be dark enough. I don't think it is. Let's try my 90. Oh, that's so dark though. I wish I had an 80. I have a 70% cool gray and a 90% cool gray, and the 90 is really dark and the 70 almost doesn't show up. But that's okay. I'm gonna try with the 70. And then worst case scenario, I may go in with my black watercolor pencil because it's not really black. It's not a true black. It's very much a dark gray. And I think that may be a good in-between color. But I'm going to try this first. I'm just going to sharpen it as sharp as I can get it. Okay. Let's try some tiny eyebrows. Ooh. Okay. Oh, are you gonna focus? I got the glare from my ring light, but I'm afraid if I turn the ring light down, it's not gonna focus at all. Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to go really like a feathered kind of a look so that it's more like some fur sitting above the eye rather than like a human eyebrow. So I think yeah, I feel like that's pretty good. Just a few little hair strokes. This is the smallest eyebrow I've ever drawn. Really just trying to kind of get the idea of an eyebrow without actually looking like hair. It's really hard. I've also never done, there's that word that I can't come up with again. Anthropomorphic, that's the word. Anthropomorphic. An anthropomorphic animal doll. So this is a whole bunch of new challenges for me, all in one little doll. But I've really wanted to do one for a while. The closest I think I've come is my Bunny Blythe girl, but she was still very much just a human face that happened to have a bunny nose and teeth and ears. And this one is very much a mouse, which just happens to have a human body. So it's like opposite ends of the spectrum. Let's just extend these hairs out a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty happy with those. I feel like they're not quite human, but they do give the idea of an eyebrow. So that's, I think, what I was trying to capture. Let me see if I can maybe get away with doing just a couple little tiny lash lines down here. I'm going to do them really, really faint. Yeah, these aren't even going to show up on my webcam for sure, but I should be able to get them on my camera later. So I'm just putting a couple of teeny tiny little lash lines in the bottom corners. Just to give a little extra shadowing to the bottom corners of the eyes. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy with that. Let's sit you here for now. Actually, where'd that tape roll go? Let me sit her back on the tape roll. Yeah, alright. Thank you. Actually, this is just my Prismacolor pencil. It really depends on what the size of the doll is I'm working on as to what kind of tools I'll use. Well, I just noticed my music stopped. There we go. So, the smaller the doll, the more likely I am to just use a really sharp Prismacolor pencil. Because they're really nice and pigmented. And I can sharpen the tips pretty sharp. I use watercolor pencils a lot too because they're really easy to erase on a small face. But like larger dolls, I will use paint and pencils pretty much interchangeably, except on eyebrows. Eyebrows, I pretty much always do pencils, and then I'll do usually a really faint, like just a little dusting of the pastel powder over them to kind of soften the lines. I don't know, do I have any? Yeah, I got my little MIDI here. This is another recent custom that I did. So her freckles are watercolor pencil. Her eyebrows are a combination of watercolor pencil, pastel, and Prismacolors. Yeah, so I didn't use quite as much pastel on her. She has, her lip color is pastel, but, you know, my light is kind of washing a lot of these colors out. It's making things much more high contrast than they're supposed to be, but yeah, I have a lot of materials. It does make things a bit messy. I'm going to put these over here because I am going to do those next. But I think I want to do the eyes now. And I'm not going to put the resin in the eyes just because I don't want to get, I don't want to be messing with getting my respirator on and off right now. So I'll put the resin on them later and put them back into her head and get a picture when I'm totally done. So I'm just going to put the color on them. I have this giant pencil case. I never remember which colors are in which sleeve. Okay, here's my greens. So I want to get a couple of different shades here. Kelp green's probably too dark. Maybe moss. I should have grabbed scrap paper. Do I have scrap paper under my computer over here? Let's see. Yes. Alright. So, let's see. Oh, moss is pretty dark too. How about this one. Okay, that's a little more of a greeny green. And then I want probably lime peel. Oh, maybe that's too bright. I did make hazel eye chips for my Blythe dolls, and I don't remember what colors I used. If I would have thought about it, if I were smart, I probably would have grabbed my little note card where I wrote down the colors that I used for the Blythe eyes, and I could have just used the two main colors. Alright, I think I'm going to do lime peel, even though it's really bright. Oh, thanks! Yeah, it's mainly just a lot of scribbling, but I enjoy it. I just like mixing colors together and kind of seeing what comes out of it. Alright, so this one, and I need to get this one really sharp too. I've never made eyes this small, but I've made eyes that are almost this small, so I think I can do it. Alright, let's see. That's a pretty small line there. Okay, this should be good. So these ones came with her, and they're basically just polymer clay, and you fill in the little iris holes. And then you fill them with resin once you get the color in there. Oh, this might be really hard to do with a pencil because they are so small. Yeah, okay. On second thought, I'm going to give her really bright green eyes. Let's see. Ooh, this would be good, a good color, actually. Just because it's such a small little hole in that clay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. I wanted to do some fun little realistic eyes. Because I do have a lot of them that I do like really crazy, like sticker eyes and like glittery eyes on. But I like to have at least a couple of pair that are kind of more realistic. Let's see. Oh, these are so small that I think even if I did do multiple colors, I probably wouldn't even be able to tell. So, yeah, I'm just going to do just this olivey green. And I think it's probably still going to give me just about the color that I was looking for anyway. So, I may even skip pupils and just do like an anime style eye where the iris is the pupil. Yeah, I have a lot of really nice art markers, and I end up using them mostly for coloring because they don't work so great in a lot of actual art contexts, surprisingly. They're great for like sketching things and hold on. Losing my train of thought here because I just noticed that I missed a whole patch of white there. Alright. Yeah, they're good for sketching, but even like in my sketchbooks, I can only use them on the multi-purpose paper, because regular sketchbook paper, they bleed through. So I mainly use them like for illustration and coloring. Okay. So that's the color that they are. Well, it's sort of the color that they are. It's very dark in here aside from underneath the glare of my ring light. There we go. That sort of olivey green, which ironically is not too far from the color on my tape. So I'm going to let that paint dry, and then later I'm going to drip a little bit of resin in there, cure the resin, and then I can put them back in her head and take some pictures. So she's basically done for now. That was fun. It was definitely a challenge. I've never done a doll this tiny before. I would definitely do more. Yeah, I may have to buy more of her itty bitty kits and make a few more tinies. I think she's gonna be really cute in my doll dioramas if I like stick her on a shelf when I'm taking pictures of my bigger dolls. So I'm gonna sit her up here to dry and get her eyes out of the way. And since it's still fairly early, I guess I'll do some shading on the pumpkin. This one I'm kind of sort of challenging myself to get done by Halloween just to see if I can. But I'm not going to have a complete doll ready because I only had like a random extra faceplate. So I'm going to end up putting her faceplate onto this doll temporarily. This doll was a gift from a friend, but she has these bright green eyes that I think are going to look really cool under this. So I'm going to temporarily put her face onto this other doll when it's finished just to get some good pictures for Halloween. And then I'll order her own body. Yeah, oh my gosh, I love the little toes. This is why I had to have this doll, is these tiny little hands and the tiny little toes. Like I get so obsessed with mini things. Like I guess that's why I got back into dolls instead of continuing to do art for people. Oh, hang on. Is she a pull-up? Because I know they did Sailor Moon pull-ups. I don't have any of those yet, but I have Dal, who is Pull-up's little sister, and I got that doll from eBay for like $30 because the person selling her had bought a storage unit unseen and had no idea what the dolls were and had like a bunch of pull-ups in it. And that was kind of my first introduction to those dolls in person. Like, I'd never seen one in person. I'd only seen them online. Alright, I want to do a little unseen area because I'm not actually sure what colors I want to use here. Okay, yeah, I want this one. I don't want, like, brown on my pumpkin. Yeah, well, they have big heads like Blythe, but they're not as big, and the eyes don't change color. They just go side to side. But yeah, they're usually like yeah, that happens a lot with the Blythes too, unfortunately. Even on the Blythe brand stands, just because they do tend to be really top heavy, they fall over quite a bit. If they don't have, they need to have like really good sturdy shoes on, and then they'll usually stand up pretty well. This one especially has got like probably a quarter-pound of milliput epoxy clay on her face, so she's definitely going to fall over forward without a proper stand. But I think it's worth it. I've wanted to do a pumpkin doll for so long. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll probably be able to tell what it is. I'm kind of most people's doll identifier person at this point. I just get really hyper fixated on things, and I end up looking stuff up on eBay and just finding like really cool old pop culture toys and stuff. So I don't really collect things properly the way that most people collect things. I have like one or two of random series of toys that I just find interesting, and I'll get the ones I like, and then I just don't really care about the rest. I think I only ended up with so many Blythe dolls because, I mean, the fake ones are super cheap on AliExpress, and I just find them more fun to work with than any other doll I've done so far. I didn't think I would enjoy the face carving, but I really do. Okay, that was the perfect color. Definitely not brown. I'm gonna go with my dark red here. So much better than a poopy brown. I know it probably looks brown on camera, but this is the darkest of my earth reds. It's I think this one is like a Tuscan red. What do they call it? Oh, they don't have the names on here. That's helpful. They had the names on the listing when I bought it. I think it's Tuscan red. Tuscan red is the darkest Prismacolor, so that's probably why I think it's Tuscan red, but whatever. It's the darkest of the earth reds, so it looks kind of brown in some lighting, but it's like a really, really warm brown. So it's actually a very, very dark red. But it's really good for doing shadows without having them look cartoony or dirty. So like this is the color that I would do if I were doing like a goth witchy doll, which I am going to be doing soon. And I didn't want to use like actual blacks and grays. This would be the color I would use instead of a black. It's like a really, really dark purpley red. And I'm just smudging it with my fingers. So I'm going to go into all of these little nooks and crannies because I want it to look like actual pumpkin skin. Which is why I didn't bother to smooth it out. It was a stylistic decision, not laziness. Often I do get lazy when I'm doing sculpting, and I will readily admit when something is laziness and when something is a stylistic decision, and this was intentional. Like, the only thing I buffed out were where it was really obvious that there were, like, fingerprints in it. Everything else I left exactly as it went on there. I wanted it lumpy and bumpy. I wanted it to look like a hand-carved pumpkin. I didn't want it perfectly symmetrical. And I got, like, the little pumpkin flesh color underneath the orange where it's carved. So, yeah, this was the one that, like, I sanded the nose and mouth off of, and I was like, wow, this is the weirdest looking face blank I've ever started with. But, yeah, that's why I sanded it totally flat, is so that when I carved out the nose, there wouldn't be, like, a little nose nubbin in there. And then I sanded off the lips so that when I carved out the mouth, it would just be smooth under there. My hope is that this black that I used, it's just the Apple Barrel matte black from Walmart, but it is my absolute favorite black. It is super matte, it's super dark, and in the right lighting, it looks almost as good as like the fancy Stuart Semple black. So my hope is that if I do this shading just right, it'll look like it's actually just hollow once I put it on the doll. Because I'm also going to paint the eyelids with the matte black, fully matte black. And then what I'm also going to do is take the actual iMac apart. I do have an iMac around here so I can show what I mean. So I want to take the iMac apart and paint the actual eyeball pieces also in the matte black so that all that you'll see is the irises floating in the little eye holes, and my hope is that it'll look like it's all hollow and it's just like the floating glowing eyes. But I don't know, I guess we'll see how well that works. I've never done anything like it before, but I feel like it's gonna work, you know? And so far my experiments have been working pretty well. I mean, the flocking experiment that I did to make my Edgar Allan Poe's mustache worked beautifully. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing there. I watched some tutorials, but I had never really done a flocked mustache before. So I feel like this is another experiment that I think I have just enough background knowledge to kind of guess at what it's going to end up looking like. Okay. Now I think I don't want to use the super dark red to get all of these. So I think what I'm going to do is go with the next one up. And I'm going to use a softer brush and just kind of swipe right over the top. And then what that should do is when I rub it off, yeah, okay, so it's only leaving the powder in those little crevices. Yes, exactly. I want the really green eyes to be the only thing that's visible. I think it's gonna look really cool. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So, yeah, it's just sticking in the crevices, which is making it look like dirty pumpkin skin. You know, I get that a lot, that it's really calming, which is really funny because normally my art streams descend into complete chaos. Because a lot of these streams I'm doing things that I've never done before, and I don't really do more than like an afternoon's worth of research because I just think it's more fun that way. Like the first time I made resin eyes for my Mothman sculpture, and I ended up with like giant blisters because the middle didn't cure. I think that was probably not one of the more relaxing streams I've done. It sort of turned into like a Dr. Pimple Popper experiment because I just kept getting these bubbles that didn't cure in the middle, and the last ones I did still didn't fully cure, so his little eyes are still kind of soft. I've actually been a little bit afraid to clean up the black paint around the edges because they're still soft, and I don't know if I could potentially still damage them or not. Oh, I have him. I can grab him. Yeah, I made both of these guys with the Nerdy Crafter craft kit, her first kit. I just got her second one too. I haven't managed to make anything with it yet, but this is my Mothman. I don't know if this camera focuses well enough on dark things. Well, I've got the ring light out, so it should. So, I don't know if you can tell, but they're still a little bit soft, so I've been kind of hesitant to clean up the edges of the eyes, because I'm not sure if I use alcohol on them. I think they'll probably be okay, but I'm a little bit worried because they didn't cure in the middle all the way. So I don't know. He may just have like messy black paint around the edges of his eyes forever because I'm too afraid to fix it. But yeah, I gave him a little fuzzy belly and then some little paint feathering on his antennas and his wings, and then he's got a little booty because the statue has a little booty, and I couldn't make a Mothman and not give him not give him his cake. But yeah, and then this one I did to kind of mimic. Do you remember those Gumball Machine aliens that were like everywhere when we were kids? I used to collect those, and I ended up. I don't remember if I donated them in one of the charity bags or what I did with them, but I got rid of most of my collection, and I'm kind of upset about that now. But one that I kept was like this dark blue glittery alien with a skateboard. And I wanted to kind of recreate him as my first sculpture with that craft kit. So that was kind of my take on that. I made him sort of more galaxy than like full of glitter. But yeah. I have to make him a little skateboard still. And then her new kit came with an airbrush, which I've been kind of playing around with, and I haven't done enough that I feel super comfortable using the airbrush yet, but I do feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it, so I may do a stream where I airbrush things at some point in the near future. One of these faces that I carved, I'm planning on doing, like, oh wow, that glare. I'm planning on doing corpse paint on. So I'm going to be airbrushing his face white. So I may do the airbrushing on stream. Since I haven't had time to really sculpt anything with her new kit yet, I do like to show the kits off when I buy them because they're kind of expensive. And I feel like I might as well do some advertising. But yeah, I haven't gotten anything with the airbrush that I'm really happy with how it turned out yet, so I'm kind of keeping that under wraps for the moment until I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. It's a bit of a learning curve. It's very different than painting by hand. Messier, for one thing, for sure. I also, by the way, I saw that you followed me, so thank you for that. But also, by the way, I put my streams on YouTube, usually the day after or a couple of days after if I'm having issues with their uploader, just for people who miss them or maybe just don't really want to watch on Twitch, because I know some people just don't want to install another thing. So I put them on YouTube too. Alright. This is working pretty well. With just these reds, I feel like I may not even need my browns, because I'm pretty happy with how just the reds are coming along. And it doesn't look quite as, well, I hate to say muddy because I do want it to look like a dirty pumpkin that's been in the ground, but, you know, like muddy art-wise versus muddy dirt-wise, if that makes sense. The colors don't look muddy with using the reds instead of browns. I do feel like it looks a little bit more like aged pumpkin skin as opposed to just like I painted it brown. Yeah, I'm just Spooky Doll Lady on there too. Spooky Doll Lady or Spooky Doll House pretty much everywhere online so that I could kind of streamline everything when I rebranded. If I can figure out how to set up email marketing for my website, then I'm gonna put all of my socials on there. Because I've got my site mostly finished at this point. I just finished the last of my actual pages. Oh my god. I know. As soon as I saw that they changed those garbage cans to cement, oh, I laughed so hard, man. I wonder how many people set them on fire before they did that. uh, but yeah, I got my website mostly set up at this point. It took me about a month to do. It was very stressful, but now that it's all up there, I'm kind of like, yeah, I do want people to come here, so I think I should set up email marketing. And then that way, whenever I put announcements for, like, if I change my stream schedule or whenever I'm vending local shows, it'll send an email out to people instead of people having to constantly come back and check the announcements page on the website. Alright, I need a little bit more in this quarter. This one's still a little brighter than all the others. Oh, because I didn't get any by the eye yet, that's why. Okay. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that figured out. I had a couple of friends who were kind of walking me through making the website, so I think I'm gonna send them a message and ask if I can, if they know of any good tutorials to set up email marketing through WordPress, because I think that's gonna be my next step. All right, I need one of my really, really soft brushes. Oh no, there goes the camera. I probably should not have put my camera directly in front of the cup with all my brushes. Oops, that was a little bit of an oversight. Alright, so I'm going to put these away now. So I'm going to go in with, this is actually an eyeshadow brush. Oh yeah, oh my god, I was the undefeated Tony Hawk champion for the longest time. I loved those games. Those were like the only video games that I would play regularly. Alright, so now I've got my really soft one. I'm just going to do a really light coating of a couple of different browns. I'm going to go with this chocolatey brown. And then go over it with my really, really light tan brown. And this is just going to get any small areas that I might have missed, but it's really, because it's such a soft brush, it's not going to push them in there really harshly. So it's just a really light coating to give just a little bit of extra dimension. And then, just to soften it even more, I'm going to take a tissue and just really lightly swipe. And then, I feel like that's pretty good. To seal the pastels, I use Mr. Super Clear. Specifically, I use the UV Cut Flat. It's the mattest one, and the UV Cut stops oxidizing. So it doesn't turn yellow over time if it's in sunlight. This is what I use. But you do need a respirator to use it. Like, even outside, it's super toxic. So I do have my fancy respirator. Before I started using MSC and resin and all of that stuff that off-gasses horrible chemicals, I bought like a proper respirator. So I'm gonna do all of that as soon as I end the stream. I do kind of want to put it on this doll really quick just to see how I like it. So let me get my screwdrivers. And I'm gonna put her together and just make sure, that I'm happy with all of the colors. Hoping, I think that these probably are, there are a couple of different factories that sell the fake Blythes. I'm hoping that this face and this doll came from the same factory, because I'm not going to take the pull strings apart to be able to take the eye mech and put it in the back plate for this one. Because I do want to put this doll back together later. Because I think I did say she was actually a gift from a friend. So Anthony, if you're watching, I promise I'll put your doll back together. I just want to borrow her eyes for my Halloween pictures. This is kind of a process to get these apart, but it's worth it. Okay. Oh, she's got one of these faces, which I think I can still work with. I just may... I'm going to have to take this... Actually, no, I'm not going to take that off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my body box. That does not have the extra thingy on the neck. Right? Okay. So set that over there. Grab the scalp. Okay. So I also want to shorten the T-bar just a little bit, which is going to raise the eyes. Where is the end? Here we go. Which I've been wanting to do for this doll for a while, and I just didn't feel like taking her apart. So now that she's apart, you just chop a teeny bit off of the end of the T-bar, and then what that does is it makes the eyes sit slightly more upward in their mech, so that the doll doesn't look down. Oh no, I do need the back. Well, maybe not. We'll see. I just want to take a couple of pictures with her, and then I will get her her own body. Maybe I don't need that piece. Alright. Untangle this, pop the eyes in here. I'm going to try not to damage those lashes. Or the lids, because I like the lids. Oh, Oh man, the other downside to putting this much clay on a face is you don't have the flexibility to pull it apart to pop that mech in and out. Oh man, it's almost there. I'm just afraid to pull it because I don't want to crack the clay. I just need it to get like 1 millimeter farther. Oh man, maybe I should have put the mech in before I put all the clay on it. I also usually don't have a back plate flopping around when I'm doing this, but because I don't want to take the strings off, because I'm just borrowing the eyes. Come on. Alright, maybe I won't be able to get this mech in. Darn. How about this one? Can this one go in? I just need to put eyes in it and put it on a body really quick so I can make sure that I actually like the colors. This shouldn't be this hard. Oh my god. Okay. It's because I have like a metric fuck ton of clay on it, that's all. So what I may end up having to do is heat the plastic backside a little bit. That's probably what I'm going to end up having to do. So my other option is I could make stable eyes. They won't be able to move, but they would be glued onto the back. So that could also potentially work for me, because then I wouldn't have to worry about painting eyeballs on an iMech black. I could just make black eyes with a colored iris. So that actually may work better now that I'm thinking about it. And then I don't ever have to worry about taking the head apart to change out eyes. So let me just click this mostly together, put it on a body, and put the hair on, because that's the main concern here. I know that I want this doll with black hair, so what I want to do is put the scalp on. More than anything else, I need to get a scalp onto it and make sure that the colors look good. And this is the main reason I didn't want to use any black in the shading, is because I want to give it black hair, and I don't want it to get too dark, if that makes sense. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to put it fully together, because there's too much clay to pull it apart, but I am pretty happy with that. So, let me do this. I'm just going to have random eyes dangling out the back for a minute here. Oh well. Alright, push that onto the neck. I'm just going to hold this, put some hair on. Well, everything else is going to work just fine, but I'm thinking, now that I have tried to put an iMech on, is it even worth it to do it? Because I don't think I'm going to change the eyes. I think if I put stationary eyes in, I can really customize them to be exactly what I want them to be. And that may even be better for this particular doll, because I have like a really specific vision. So I think that's what I'm going to do, but here's what we're going to end up with, essentially. So I'm happy with that. The shading is dark enough. Alright, I finished 2 dolls today, essentially. I mean, I didn't really, because I still have to get a whole body for this one, but finished enough. Alright, that's what I'm going to do then. Oh, and you know what? If I do that, I can put glow medium into the resin, and I can actually have glowing eyes. That's what I'm going to do. That's going to be so much cooler. So much cooler. So then all I need to worry about is getting a scalp because I already have a back plate and a body. So, all right. Cool. That's basically done. She's basically done. And we're just about at 7:30, which is when I was planning on calling it quits for the night. So, perfect timing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put this up on YouTube. I'm going to try and put it up tonight. We'll see if it gets up tonight. It usually takes like 4 or 5 hours for a video to actually upload onto YouTube, so it might actually go up tomorrow morning. And let's see, what else do I have planned for this weekend? I'm going to do my Halloween stream where I do horrifically scary games and scare the literal soul out of my body. Probably on Friday. I don't have plans for the rest of the weekend, so I may even do a second one. I don't know. I'm definitely going to play Boo Men because I've seen a lot of people playing it. It's a Phasmo clone, and it looks slightly more tame than Phasmo, so I feel like I can probably play that one without getting so scared that I actually scream myself hoarse. I might try Phasmo again. I don't know. I may try Outlast again because I have had a request to play Outlast on camera, which I've never done. Outlast is the only game so far that I got so scared that I uninstalled it immediately and never played it again. So I may or may not do an Outlast stream. We'll see. But yeah, it's my annual scary game stream for Halloween. I don't think I'm going to do Slender again. I'm sorry. Dre is going to be disappointed, but I don't think I can do it. That game is just too stressful. I know it's like the dumbest game ever, but it's way too stressful for me. I'm trying to think. I have a list. I have an actual list. It's just not in front of me. So I may attempt the full version of the Mortuary Assistant. I bought Shudder. The camera ghost game. That's a terrible description, I'm sorry. But if you know what it is, you know what it is. I bought Shudder, so I may start that for Halloween. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I don't know. I'll stream whenever I feel like it this weekend. I don't know what day it's gonna be. I'm gonna be home alone all Halloween, so I may just do multiple game streams. Those will also be up on YouTube afterwards. I haven't done a stream in forever, so I don't remember what I usually cover at the end of my streams. That's a little embarrassing. Okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out, Ashley. Yeah, so see everybody next time.